well, there's me and Peter, mum and dad, to Nathan, who's 8, nearly 9, Owen, who's 5, and Callum, who's 3.5. Very full on. Every day brings its challenges, but every day we smile, don't we? They've got lovely little ways, you know, about them, all 3 boys. As long as routine's in place in the house, we can generally get good days. If the routines vary at all, that's when we struggle a bit, don't we? Nathan's very quiet and likes his own space. Owen's very sensory driven, and Callum's a bit of a mixture of both, really, isn't he? Absolutely. So really it's a challenge to keep the tempers stable, really, I think is the best way of putting it. Well, Nathan, he is, when he was younger, he was very much a flapper. And he would kind of self-regulate by doing that, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
As he's gotten older, that's sort of ebbed away, although he does it when he's excitable, doesn't he? When he's really excited, he tends to flap a lot. But he is a scratcher. And when he's chilling out, he likes nothing better than to get a certain item. It's usually either a very big, heavy book, put it on his knee and scratch at it while he's watching TV or something like that. He can't actually rest until he's got this to scratch. Once he's scratching, he's as happy as Larry. Owen, yeah, very much so. You'll often find he's got a little bear called Flump. It's actually an elephant, isn't it? Filled with beans, and he'll pop it on his head, and that's him chilling out. He likes that. After school, he'll often come up to you. You've just put your hand out, and he'll put his forehead against the heel of your palm, and he'll just press as much as he needs to get that.
That's calming, doesn't it?
Yeah. Callum tends to stick his tongue out a lot. That's how he tends to regulate himself, really. You know, when he's getting a bit stressed, the tongue tends to come out, and he does dribble a lot, but it seems to keep him calm, that, doesn't it? Callum tends to throw meltdowns. Not sure what triggers that, though, at the moment. He's happy as Larry one day, and then the next, you know.
And all throw them meltdowns, there's no doubt about it. All have their moments.
And Callum, he is a headbanger. So when he's having a meltdown, that's it. He heads off with his head, doesn't he?
It's just all when they're probably a bit stressed, they're unhappy about what's going on, and they just need a bit of space themselves, or when they kind of behave like that. What we find, though, with Nathan is he does struggle with crowds and noise, and he always has done since he was tiny. If, particularly places like this at a football ground, you know. If you try and take them out for a meal or something like that, it can be very difficult.
That's right.
Yourself trying to take them something to eat. You know, obviously you'll take them along to the restaurant or whatever, and you'll just try and get them to eat. But obviously, if they're unhappy, they'll start having a meltdown, or sort of kicking off, and you'll get the looks from the other parents, won't you? Like, so you're not controlling kids, and like, well, it's that hidden disability sort of that we're mentioning, isn't it? People don't realise if they've got autism, it's not quite as simple and straightforward as that. It can just come on just for no reason, really. Sometimes either you probably have to remove them from the situation sometimes to try and calm it down, or we often try and go where there's soft play areas, like the restaurants there, so there's somewhere where you could, take them into there, and they love going in the soft play, don't they?
Particularly Owen, who often can't get through a meal sitting down all the time, so he likes to take off. And if you're sitting in a soft play area, it's perfect, because they can, in the middle of the food, off the go, have a run about, come back again.
It's not 100% of the time. I mean, sometimes it's all right. Sometimes they go and they're fine, but it's not always like that. And sometimes it's that little thing where people looking. But you've got that. You can take them away, soft play areas, things like that. You've just got to try and think, what can you do? Think ahead about where you're taking them and what can you do. And you are more restricted.
I would say just to hang on in there, and I would tell them to note down every little thing that they think about, because to help with a diagnosis, the consultants need to know everything. And even the littlest thing that you think, that's strange, they hold the brush that way, or they prefer the hairbrush in this way, it doesn't matter. Let them know that, because every little thing matters, it all helps. And also with things like that, you can actually get guidance and support on how to deal with that. You know, it's some children...
I think we're all learning all the time ourselves, aren't we?
That's
there's no
right,
history of autism before we had our boys, so it was fresh and new to us, and sort of we learn at the same time. So yeah, I think making a note of everything that happens, like saying, you can pass it on to experts, and then they might be able to like, all right, that's because of that. So
it is a long journey, and I think when you're a parent and you know your child has difficulties, I know lots of people call it labelling a child, but I tend not to. I say it's a diagnosis. You know, you label your pots, you know, your boxes and things like that, but you diagnose a person. And for us, a diagnosis means that basically that child is going to get access to services, and early intervention is huge. It really does matter, and I think the earlier...
It's important for the child, isn't it, really? Because, you know, if there's challenges there that they face, it's important that they're given opportunities and access to those things.
All three of our boys are all completely different. So when somebody meets Nathan and then they meet Owen and they're both completely different, they'll say, well, Owen seems fine. But if they meet Owen first and then Nathan, oh, okay, so Nathan's quieter. He's quite chatty as well. I think people often assume that if you have autism, you might sit in the corner and rock for a little while.
Yeah, you do get that sort of judgment. I think
stigma.
People will spend 10 minutes or 20 minutes with each other and they'll make their own minds up, you know, as you go or not. Unless, if they're having it, if they're all right for a little while, I think there's nothing the matter with you. So, well, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Or so there is that sort of, everybody judges, you know, and it's a bit hard that sometimes, because you need to kind of obviously see a person over a long period of time, you know, quite a few days and things, and all right, so then they have their ups and downs and you can get a better picture rather than just being judged.
I think what we've learnt as well with our boys is their elements of fear in different aspects, and I think that's something that for us in our family, it's sort of commandeered autism as well. I think that's what flagged things up, was their amount of fear in certain situations. For example, in a football club, Nathan was just terrified of the crowds and the noise. Our younger two, Owen and Callum, will run if there's crowds. They will dash out of the way. Danger is just not in their minds whatsoever. And for me, I like to use the bungee jump analogy, that if I was to say to somebody, okay, get your coat on, we're going to do a bungee jump, different people would have different fear levels of doing that. Some may have an apprehension, others may be absolutely terrified, frozen on the spot. And that can be how the range of fear goes in autism, ranging from getting on a bus, you know, to eating a food that they've never tried before.